Go.
Yeah.
All right, this is section 3.5, solving quadratic equations by completing the square. They're going to baby step us into completing the square. The entire process of completing the square has a couple steps to it, but these first two, they're just going to do us like the introduction to it. So this is just an intro steps to completing the square, okay? So they want us to solve this thing by using the square root property. That's what the completing the square involves, all right? So what we're doing here is looking at this left side. We just want to break him down. He is a perfect square trinomial. He's a simple trinomial. And if we break him down into two pieces like this, like we would a simple trinomial, you ask yourself, what do you multiply together to give you 9, but when you add them give you 6? So what are those two numbers? Multiply to get 9, add to get 6. What will that be? 3, right? 3 and 3. Positive 3, negative 3, one of each. I wanted to add to get positive 6. So both positives, right? And then I'll put equals 36. He's just chilling on the other side, right? We've broken that left side down, and it equals, both of these pieces are the same, x plus 3 and x plus 3. What's another way of writing x plus 3 times x plus 3 if they are both the same?
X squared plus
9. X plus 3 squared equals 36. Okay? So rather than writing them as two separate pieces, we write it as x plus 3 squared. Yeah? Okay, now, I want to solve this thing, so to get rid of a square, I take the square root of the whole thing. Okay? I take the square root of the whole thing. So x plus 3 just falls out of the left side, and that's equal to, the square root of 36 is 6, but also negative 6. It's positive 6 and negative 6. So we say plus or minus 6. Yeah? Okay? Plus or minus, because 6 times 6 gives you 36, but negative 6 times negative 6 also gives you 36, right? So we do plus and minus 6. Now, if I want to get this x by itself, there's one more thing that I have to do, and it is subtract 3. Subtract 3, okay? So let's figure out our two answers. If this was a positive 6 minus 3 versus a negative 6 minus 3, what would my two answers be? X equals 3 and x equals negative 9, okay? We are still trying to find, by doing this, we're still trying to find the places where he crosses the x-axis, right? And they are at 3 and at negative 9. And this is what my parabola looks like, okay? 3 and negative 9, and that's what he does, okay? So that was the square root property. We're still locating the same things as we did with factoring, but we're not factoring this time. We are doing the completing the square. This is the square root property, okay? The next one is the same thing, except we're going to end up with just a little bit of a weird answer, okay? So the left side, we're going to break him down. What can you multiply to get 25, but when you add them, give you negative 10? Multiply to get 25, add to get negative 10. Negative 5, right? Equals 27. Okay? And then we write the x minus 5 times x minus 5 as x minus 5 squared, because there's two pieces there, right? Okay?
What's the square root of 25?
Just wait. Just wait. Just wait. So, now what do? Take the square root, right? X minus 5 falls out, and I want the square root of 27, which is plus and minus square root of 27, except the square root of 27 doesn't come out nicely like 36 does, right? So, we break him down. What can 27 break down into? 9 and 3, okay? The square root of 9 is 3, and the square root of 3 stays. So we're going to write the square root of 27 as 3 square roots of 3. Does that make sense? Yeah? Break him down. He's 3 square roots of 3. Okay? And then we add the 5, right? Can you add 5 to 3 square roots of 3? No? So here's how we're going to write our answer. I usually put the plus and minus as the last piece, and I write the 5 to begin with. So I put 5 plus and minus 3 square roots of 3. Okay? Now, you could write your answer as plus and minus 3 square roots of 3 plus 5, but I usually write it like this instead, okay? The second one is not wrong, but I usually write it with the square root as the last number, okay? Does that make sense? and we just list our answer like that. Okay, this one we had it come out as a nice answer, but this one we did not. Okay,
What'd you buy?
I don't know. Probably nothing. Okay, moving on.
Well, you obviously bought them.
So this, no, because I have a like 5 people that use my Amazon Prime account, so I probably didn't buy anything. So these were the intro steps into completing the square. This was already kind of set up, ready to go for you. The actual completing the square is like one more step besides that. Okay?
Sounds good.
Are we ready?
Can we do like number 1 on homework?
What is number 1 on the we'll do number 1 on the homework here in just a second.
Well, the square equals 1. So.
Oh, just wait. We'll do number 1 together.
It
Okay?
equals.
All right. Example 3. Complete the square. We're starting with x squared plus 16x plus c, and they want us to write that as a perfect square. So here's what I want to have happen. I want to be able to break this guy down. Chase, turn around. You are not watching. I want to be able to break this guy down into 2 pieces that are exactly the same. So I want to figure out what c is so that when I multiply, I get c, but when I add it, I get 16. Okay? But it has to be the same number. So basically, we're looking at what number can I add to itself to get 16? 8. So I want this to be x and 8, and x and 8. And is it positive, negative, one of each? Both positives, right? So then, what does c have to be? C is 64. Does that make sense?
Is that how we do
8 plus 8 is 16. 8 times 8 is 64. So I would write this guy as x plus 8 squared. Okay, so they want this as part of my answer and this as part of my answer. C is 64, and if I write it as it says then write your trinomial as a perfect square, it is x plus 8 squared. Okay, find the value of c. C is 64. I write it as x plus 8 squared. Good? Make sense? James, are you watching? Are you writing this down? Okay. All right, now we're going to do this entire problem by completing the square. Are you ready? We're going to put both of those 2 steps that we just got done doing together. All right? And here's what we're going to do first. The first thing that we do, watch. I'm going to kick you out pretty soon. Would you like to be kicked out and spend 2 hours after school in April's office? Okay, then pay attention. All right, the first thing that we're going to do, completing the square. I'm going to write the x's on one side, and I'm going to kick this 11 to the other side. This is how you set up completing the square. So I have x squared plus 10x equals, if I kick the 11 to the other side, it becomes positive 11. Right? I add the 11 to the other side. Okay? Now, there's a reason why I left that big space, because that's where that plus c goes. Right? Just like we did in the last step, we have plus c. But if I add plus c to this side, I have to also add plus c to this side. Does that make sense? Okay? So we need to figure out what plus c has to be. So I'm going to write down this, those 2 bubbles, and we have to multiply to get c, but when I add them, it has to give me 10. And I want it to be the same number. So what same number can I multiply to get c, whatever c is, but when I add it to itself gives me 10? It has to be 5, right? Positive 5, negative 5, one of each. Both positives. Both positives. So what does c have to be? C has to be 25, right? So I'm going to cross out c and I'm going to put 25 here. And I'm going to cross out c and I'm going to put 25 here. Okay? Does that make sense? Okay, what?
We're getting it. We're gonna like completely solve it.
Yep, we're going to completely solve it. Okay? So if I'm adding 25 to both sides, what's the right side going to be? 36, right? Okay, now, the next step that I'm going to do down, x plus 5 times x plus 5. If I FOIL, I'll get back up to the beginning. I want to write x plus 5 times x plus 5 as x plus 5 squared equals 36. Okay, and now what? I take the square root and the square root, so x plus 5 equals positive 6 and negative 6. That's how he comes out, right? Okay, and then the last thing I do is subtract 5. Okay, so x is equal to, And because 6 came out nicely, let's go ahead and do positive 6 minus 5. And let's go ahead and do negative 6 minus 5. When it, because we're gonna actually find the two numbers rather than writing them together. Okay? So positive 6 minus 5 is 1. Negative 6 minus 5, negative 11.
Do you have to write that?
Okay.
Put x equals 1, x equals.
That's fine. That's fine. That's fine. I'm just trying to show you why that is. Yeah. Okay. So those are my two answers. So when it doesn't come out, when the square root doesn't come out nicely, we wrote it like this: 5 plus and minus the square root of 3 squared to 3. Okay. So when it doesn't come out nicely, go ahead and leave it like that. But when it does come out nicely, you can do both pieces. Okay. We've got one more example. We're going to skip example 5 at the top of the page. So go ahead and cross him out. We will not do him. But let's go ahead and let's do example 5 here. And here is this one. Okay. Exactly the same as the last example that we did. First thing that we're going to do is what? Subtract the 22 over. Same steps. Okay? Minus 22, minus 22. Stop. You don't need to go crazy and put a hole in your paper. Okay? Subtract the 22 over. So I have x squared plus 8x, leave room for plus c, equals negative 22. Okay? I've got to figure out what plus c is and plus c is. Okay? All right, so now let's break this guy down. Let's find out what our two bubbles are.
4.
X plus what?
4. Wait.
4 and 4, right? 4 plus 4 gives me 8. So what will C be? 16, right? Because 4 times 4 is 16, okay? So I'm going to put 16 on both sides, all right? Make sense? Okay, now, negative 22 plus 16, what does that become? Negative 6. Negative 6, okay? All right, now we keep going. We break down a little bit further. X plus 4 times x plus 4, we can write that as x plus 4 squared equals negative 6. Okay, we're going to get something weird to happen. After I write it like that, then I take the square root. Oh boy. X plus 4 equals. And what's the square root of negative 6? I don't like to have a negative inside of a square root, so what do I write it as? Yeah, this is the square root of 6i. Okay? One more thing. What do I do? One more thing. I subtract the 4. So x equals negative 4 plus minus square root of 6i. That's it. Okay? Because he didn't come out nicely, we leave him as one piece, right? That's it. Okay? If it's a negative inside of a square root, just transfer it over and make it an I, right? Okay, good? That's it. All right? You guys have a homework assignment that looks like, let me go here. I want to tell you which problems to do. So if Molly's watching this, she can see also. The square root property, you should be able to do all of 1 through 4. Okay, we can do one of those together if you want to. And then find the value of c that makes each one a perfect square trinomial. You should be able to do all of those. And yeah, let's have you do all of them, because all of them are going to come out nicely. So everything, 1 through 12, not too bad. Okay, so do all on skills practice. Molly, if you don't want to watch this, you can quit watching this video, or whoever's watching this video, you can stop here, but I'm going to do number 1 with them. If you want a free answer on your homework assignment, you can stay watching, whatever. Number 1, solve each equation by using the square root property. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to break this first part down into 2 equal pieces, okay? What number can you multiply to get 16, but when you add them, give you negative 8? X minus 4, right? They both have to be the same.
Wait, oh,
Right? So how do you write that on the left side? X minus 4 squared equals 1. Okay? Now this is where you get stuck. What do you do next? Take the square root. Square root. Okay? So x minus 4 falls out. And what's the square root of 1? What do you take times itself to get 1? 1, but it's positive and negative 1, because we have to put positive and negative 1, right? 1 times 1 is 1, but also negative 1 times negative 1 is 1, right? And then what do you do?
Oh, you add 4.
Add 4. So x equals 1 plus 4, a positive 1 plus 4, and x equals negative 1 plus 4. And then you find out those two answers. 5, and 3, and those are my 2 answers. Yeah? I think this is like the best completing the squares ever gone in this class. So good for you. Good job, guys. Okay? So 1, 2, 3, 4, same way.
Or not 8.
Okay, would you like to do like number, we'll do this one together. We have to figure out what our 2 bubbles are. So I want to figure out what number I can add to itself to get 5 and then multiply it by itself to get C. Yeah, it's going to be 2.5. This one's going to be a decimal.
You said it was gonna come out.
I know, right?
What?
You said every column was gonna come out.
Accept this. Accept this. Okay? So, I would write this guy as, how would I write this thing? X plus 2.5 squared. So they want that as my answer, and then they also want to know what C is.
No.
It's whatever 2.5 times 2.5 is, right? What's 2.5 times 2.5? It is 6.25 is what 2.5 times 2.5 is. That's what C will be. Does that make sense? Okay, so that one was a weird one. That one was a weird one. I'm sorry, I didn't realize that one didn't come out
I
nicely.
think we should take
Okay,
Word.
all right. Should we do one of the bottom ones and then you'll be all set and ready to go?
Can we do a confusing one?
A confusing one?
Yeah.
Like 12 will be a confusing one. 12 will be a yucky one. Okay, let's do 12. What do you do first? Add the 13 over. Plus 13 plus 13, okay? X squared minus 4x plus C, right? I want to leave that C in there, okay? Equals 13 plus C, okay? Now I want to write my 2 bubbles, right? Okay? It'll be x minus 2 and x minus 2. So what's my C going to be? This one will be positive 4. Negative 2 times negative 2 is positive 4, so I have to add that to both sides. Positive 4. Okay, so that's equal to 17, okay? All right? X minus 2 squared equals 17. And then what? Take the square root. X minus 2 equals plus and minus the square root of 17. Okay? Will 17 break down? 17 is a prime number, by the way. So we cannot do this. He will not break down. We just leave him as plus and minus the square root of 17. But one more thing that we have to do. Add the 2. So how do you write your answer?
X equals 2 plus
2 plus minus the square root of 17. Awesome. That was really good. You guys did well. I am impressed with you all.
So we should take the column off.
That was really good.
Yeah,
Okay. A problem off?
Yeah. Because we did so.
Okay. I'll let you take a problem off. What do you want?
We should choose.
You can choose.
Each
You
person-
only get to take one problem off.
Which
One
is
and that's it.
hard one?
Which ones? Well,
No,
9, 10, and 11 require the most steps.
each person should like choose.
No.
No?
You don't get to each
Okay.
person choose. Yeah, everybody has to choose on the same one.
No, okay.
I'll let you take off one problem.
We need to take away either 9, 10, or 11.
9, 10, or 11 require the
Because
most
those
steps.
are the longest.
Those are the longest ones.
Probably.
We should probably.
Mine has big numbers.
Yeah, I was gonna say 9.
Mine has big numbers.
9?
Comes out good,
It might be easy.
and so does 10. 12 just or 9 just says.
Alright, get rid of
9 is not going to come out with a square root. I will tell you that.
Okay, let's get rid of 9 because I already.
11 will come out with a square root.
Okay, let's get.
No, no, do 9.
Since you know
Do
the answers
9.
already, you might as well share them.
Please do
10?
9, I already scribbled over it.
10 will come out with a square root. So 10 and 11 will both come out with answers that look like 12.
Okay.
9.
But
Yeah,
9 will come out with an answer that looks like
I want to get rid
this.
of number
9.
10.
9.
10. No,
9.
because 10
9,
has a
9,
negative.
9, 9.
10 has a
I already
negative.
crossed
Get
out
rid of
9.
9. I say 9. Oh, I'm crossing.
9?
10.
All in favor of 9, raise your hand.
I.
10.
Yes, let's go.
Yes,
Okay.
James.
Sorry,
Thank you,
9,
James.
9's the
I
one.
already.
9's the one, you can cross it off. Okay? Alright. So, that is your reward for doing so well. Alright? There you go. Okay, do the rest of them. No. Do the rest of them. You're good to go.
Watching this is like,
Okay?
why did they just have